Now, your expert tonight, I haven't had an expert on for a couple of weeks, but tonight Ian Wallace is back. Now, he is probably, I would say, our most popular expert of them all. He's a dream analyst and author of the Complete A to Z Dictionary of Dreams. So he knows everything there is to know about what your dreams mean. So if you've had a recurring dream recently, or maybe going back for years, or there's just something that recently you've had some sort of quite vivid dream and it's puzzled you or troubled you, then tonight's the night to discover what it was all about. And I have to say that when Ian tells you about dreams, he does it in a very clever and very tactful way. So don't ever worry about being embarrassed by him on air or him saying something, revealing something that you wouldn't want revealing. He will do it in a very tasteful way, and every time Ian's on, I'll get an email or two in the days after saying that it's really helped what Ian's had to say. So if there is a dream that's troubling you or worrying you, or maybe you're just puzzled about a dream that you've had recently, or one that's just gone on for a little bit too long for your liking, it doesn't have to be a troublesome one. It could be absolutely anything. If you have a dream that you'd like to share tonight with Ian, then all the usual contact numbers apply. It's 0370 143 1333. That's 0370 143 1333 to get your dream interpreted. When you text 81333, start your message with the word Dean. So Dean, and then your message to 81333, or you can email. It's dean.jackson@bbc.co.uk. Now, whilst I love to get your texts and your emails, I really always do love to get them. For this part of the programme, it is useful if you can come on the phone because Ian will sometimes ask you a supplementary question about something to do with the dream. Again, very tactful and very gentle, but it will help if you can talk on the phone about it. What always happens when Ian is on this programme is that the phones are quiet for a little while because people are understandably perhaps a little bit reticent about declaring what their dreams are, worried about how it might sound on the radio. Then they'll hear the first person and realise that actually this is a pretty cool thing to be able to do. And then there's a deluge, just as I'm saying, thanks for joining us, Ian, and good night. So if you'd like a dream interpreting, then right now is the time to be getting in touch, please, to pretty well guarantee getting a question to Ian. Our dream analyst, an expert in dreams, and author of the Complete A to Z Dictionary of Dreams, Be Your Own Dream Expert. It is, of course, Ian Wallace. Ian, thank you very much indeed for being here tonight again.
My pleasure, Dean. It's always a pleasure to spend a bit of time with you on a Friday evening.
Well, you are our most popular expert. Every time you're on, the phones light up. And I've just been saying, Ian, before we joined you, that don't leave it too late, because people often do. As soon as you disappear, people go, when will he be on again? I wanted to ask him a question and I missed him. So dive in now. Don't leave it too long. Ian, you just reminded me when I was chatting to you during that track there of something, because we were just having a bit of a catch-up, and I was saying I've got lots of projects going on at the moment, lots of exciting new things going on. And you said...
What I said was that that was actually emerging in some of your dreams a few months ago.
Yes.
When we were chatting about them on air, and I was saying these are opportunities that will be coming up for you, and maybe a bit of a change and a transformation in your creativity. And it's a very interesting thing that people often dismiss their dream life as something that's just inconsequential or happens to them. But what you're doing in your dreams, you're actually working through a number of scenarios. You're integrating your past experience with your future expectations. And because of that, you often unconsciously pick up on cues and clues that will be really big opportunities for you in waking life. And by understanding the imagery in the dreams, the stuff that we talk about on your show, Dean, you can actually start to steer yourself towards those opportunities that you might otherwise miss. So it's a very good thing to attend to your dreams and attend to the imagery, because it can open doors for you that might otherwise have remained closed.
I had an email yesterday, actually, from someone who requests that they remain nameless, but you spoke to them, not last time round, but the time before, and you gave them some very sound advice, and although they didn't go into the details of that, they did say, would I pass on their thanks to you, because based on your interpretation of their dreams and what you told them about what was going on in their head, it's kind of transformed their life, they were saying. They've changed one or two things, small things in their life, but they say they feel much better for it, and so would I please pass on your thanks to Ian. So, Ian, I do that with great pleasure.
And that's fantastic to hear, Dean, because one of the things that we always say on your show is that a dream is just a dream until you put it into action. And that's the real value of a dream. And you don't have to change your whole life. It can just be changing one or two little things, like this dreamer who sent in the lovely email to you. Change one or two little things, and that can shift your whole perspective and move you into new opportunity.
And one of the things I think is important to say, and this is always a transformation when we mention this, that you are not doing that sort of very superstitious, oh, you're dreaming about this, so this is going to happen. We're not using the dreams as a prediction in any way. Oh, it's not like a horoscope or anything like that. This is just learning about what might be going on in your head because of the dreams. And I think it's important that we make that distinction.
Yeah, I mean, what we're doing here, Dean, is we're working with imagery and metaphor and language. It's not like I'm sitting here up in Scotland with a pointy hat on and a crystal ball going, oh, don't go out a week on Tuesday because something terrible happened to you. That is complete nonsense. And unfortunately, that's how most dream interpreters work. The way that I work and the way that we work together in your program is just to listen to the images that dreamers are creating and understanding what those mean and working with them. So it's just a very, very different way of working with dreams, but it's far healthier and far more positive.
I'm going to start with this email that's just come in just the last few moments, if I may, Ian, and it's quite a heavy one to begin with, so forgive me for that. But this is from Michelle, who's been on the email. She said, 4 years ago, my husband had a cardiac arrest and managed to survive it, but in the weeks that followed, he had horrific nightmares of people coming out of the wall at him, but their faces were twisted and deformed. This actually stopped him sleeping, and he couldn't sleep in the dark. Also, words would come out like a script, but he couldn't read the words. These dreams went on for quite a few weeks, though it sounds like they did stop, thankfully, because they sound awful. And Michelle said, is there an explanation for this? Have you heard of this sort of thing before?
Yes, it's something I encounter quite often. And although the dream content sounds horrific, it's actually part of the healing process. And someone who's suffered a major medical trauma, like a heart attack, or been involved in some sort of accident, they very often have really vivid, powerful, often quite disturbing dreams. And it's a sign that their body is healing. That so when Michelle's husband, after this cardiac arrest that he had, when he dreams that figures are coming out of the wall at him, it suggests that boundaries are being repaired in his body, that he's identifying things at a very unconscious level that are being repaired. So I'm not a medical doctor at all, and I have to really emphasize that. But as we know, as the body heals, it will return back to its normal structure. So his structures are coming back to as normal as they can be after a cardiac arrest. And all the twisted faces are just him identifying what's going on inside him. So it's very, very common to have quite disturbing dreams after some physical trauma, but it's usually a really positive, healthy sign that the body's healing.
Which is great news, isn't it? And that explains why they stopped as well after a period of time.
Yes, quite often I've dealt with people who have been involved in an accident, and just because they're having disturbing dreams in hospital or whatever medical centre they're in. And I remember one who was a traffic police officer who'd been in a really bad car crash, and all his dreams were about his body. He suffered multiple broken bones, but all his dreams were about a structure being built, and it seemed to be all twisted and misaligned to start off with. And then as the dreams went over a period of months and his body healed and he became fully fit again, then this structure, this building that was being built, became really in line, and then the dream just faded away. So the dream occurred, he created the dream while his body was healing, and once his body was healed, he didn't need that dream anymore.
Just do one more for now, if I may, and then we'll play some music and come back to you. They're flooding in now. Glyn is listening in Spondon tonight, and Glyn says that he constantly dreams, and this does, he freely says that it sounds like a really odd thing. He dreams about faulty machinery. It might be anything from a photocopier to a toaster that isn't working, and various items of faulty machinery come into his dreams quite regularly, most nights, he said.
Yeah, so although Glyn thinks it's quite odd, it's actually the 30th most common dream.
Oh, I love it when you do this. This is my favourite thing ever.
So,
is it really?
Yeah, it's particularly... does Glyn say what sort of machinery it is, Steve?
Well, he's mentioned photocopiers and toasters, the only two that he's mentioned here.
Right. Very often it's a telephone or something like a communication device. But if Glyn's dreaming about a photocopier or a toaster, then a photocopier is something that you use to get a quick impression of something and to copy something. And it may be that Glyn's trying to learn a new skill and he's trying to copy someone else and it's not quite working properly, and he's maybe trying to find his own voice or his own style in doing something. And anything to do with food is usually about fulfillment. So he's maybe trying to find some quite quick fulfillment, but that's not working properly either. So the action from these dreams for Glyn is to not be afraid to spend a little time learning a craft or learning a talent or working at something, and there will be ups and downs and failures and successes in it. But as he does that, he'll become a real master of what he's setting out to accomplish.
Makes perfect sense. Michelle's been straight on the email. She said, please pass on my thanks. That makes so much sense now. Thank you. So there you go. Another fan won there, Ian.
Great to hear.
If you have a question to put to Ian, now's a great time to call, to text or to email. Any dream or any questions to do with dreams for that matter as well, that has either troubled you or has been recurring, or just one that you just remember and you think, I wonder why that happened. It might just be a curiosity thing. Your expert this week, I'm Dean Jackson, on your favourite BBC local station, is Ian Wallace. He's a dream analyst. And Ian, I made a prediction that the phone lines would be jammed by the time you went, and that's proved to be true. So well done on that.
That's always good to hear. It's good to hear in some ways, and other ways think, I could stay in a bit longer. But there we go. That's just how it goes.
Well, I keep saying we should have you in for a whole hour one time, but that would be... That would be too much, I think, for you. Anyway, Ian, I'm going to introduce you to Jane now. Now, Jane isn't her actual name, but we've changed her name for reasons that may become clear when you speak to her. So, Jane, hello.
Hello.
Speak to Ian.
Hi, Jane. How are you?
Hello, Ian. I'm fine, thank you.
And you have some dreams to share for us.
Yeah. About 7 years ago, my husband went to prison.
Right.
I was sort of baited by the neighbours, one neighbour in particular. I had eggs thrown at the house, stones thrown at the house, and now I'm having this dream that she's my best friend.
Right.
And we go out drinking, shopping, having a laugh, barbecues, things like that, and I can't get this dream away from me.
And Jane, is this abuse ongoing, or has that stopped now?
It stopped.
Okay.
Yeah,
But is the person still around?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you dream that she's now like your best friend and you hang out with her? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Ian, that sounds quite unusual.
Yes, so Jane, what's happening here? So the first thing that we have to always be aware of, Jane, is that the dream's not happening to you, you're happening to the dream. So you create everything in the dream, Jane, as a way of expressing something that you might find a little bit challenging to express in waking life. And all the people in the dream, Jane, are aspects of your own character. So that you've got really positive, healthy characteristics that you might find challenging to use in waking life. You might not get the opportunity to do that, but in your dreams, you actually work through these. So this person that you create in your dreams, which is represented by your neighbour, what that's actually representing and symbolising for you is how you are dealing with adversity and challenge. So when that neighbour was abusing you 7 years ago and you had to go through all that trauma, you've taken that on board, you've risen to the challenge, you've overcome it and you've gone through it. So now when you have this dream that she's your best friend and you're out drinking and shopping and having barbecues and so on, what you're actually saying to yourself is that you can overcome any challenges that you meet in waking life. So you may have this dream when you're in a situation in waking life where you feel a bit challenged or a little bit anxious, or you need to actually dig down deep and be the real Jane and just actually show up as the person you really can be. So the message from this dream, Jane, is it's just showing your inner strength and your ability to deal with adversity. And rather than getting worried and feeling that you're a bit alone and you've got to cope with things on your own, and it's really a burden for you, it's showing you've got the inner strength to do anything that you want to do and to support the people around you and to continue to support your husband.
So, Jane, this is a very positive sort of dream. How do you feel when you wake up after that dream? Do you feel troubled by it?
No, not really, but he's spot on.
Puzzled? Oh, really?
He really is spot on, because I had to come through it, and I'm a stronger person for it. But my husband passed away 4 years ago.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
But I'm a stronger person for it, and sometimes when I see her, I just think, oh, well, jog on, sort of thing.
Well, and so Ian is absolutely spot on.
He's absolutely spot on, because I am a stronger person for it, and at the moment, well, she doesn't bother me anyway.
Okay.
But I just thought I'd get that out of my system.
Yeah, well, thanks for sharing that, and it has answered your question, I think, brilliantly, that hasn't
yes,
it?
It has, yes,
Okay.
yes. Now I know.
Walk tall, Jane, walk tall.
Yes, I will do.
Okay, thanks for your call.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
There you go, Ian, another fan. Rob's been on from Mansfield, and this isn't a specific dream question here, Ian, but I wonder if you can help with this. Maybe not. I don't know. You've already said that you're not a medical doctor, so we understand that. But Robin Mansfield says almost every night he puts the lights out and goes to sleep, but an hour later he's wide awake again. What could be causing that?
Yeah, well, that could be a whole lot of things that are going on for Robin. It might be something that it could just be a regular noise. I've got in this house, I've got really noisy central heating, and sometimes it seems to be sentient. It's a law unto itself, but sometimes it just really wakes me up. So it could be something, just an outside stimulus like that. It could be that sometimes it's quite nice to have something to eat or drink before you go to bed. A lot of people have a little glass of wine to relax them. But the thing about drinking alcohol before you go to bed is that it starts off as a sedative and then turns into a stimulant.
Right.
Robin might be having a cup of coffee or tea before bed that might be stimulating him like that as well. So the thing to do is to try and cut out any caffeine and not too much alcohol in the evening. And the big thing is to get rid of all electronic gadgetry from the bedroom. Because even though you're not using it while you're asleep, if you are reading something or playing games or watching TV just before you go to sleep, it excites your mind and it stimulates your mind, and it can be quite difficult to get really good quality sleep after that. So minimise caffeine and alcohol and get rid of all electronic gadgetry out of the bedroom. Make the bedroom a haven for rest and nothing else.
I don't know if I can deal with this one quite quickly. This is another quite a sinister one. A recurring castle in a dark, windy night, going downstairs, and the lower I get, the more I'm petrified, and I end up waking up, screaming and sweating. I mean, that's from Ethel. That is a really nasty one. That is.
Well, it sounds nasty, Dean, but as you know, there's no such thing as a bad dream.
Yeah.
It's just, and the more sinister and disturbing a dream is, just the more powerful it is, and the more meaning and emotion will be involved in it. So when Ethel's dreaming of a castle, anytime we dream about a building, we're dreaming about our own self. We've got insides and outsides, and so do buildings. And a castle is just a really strong sense of self. So Ethel has a really strong sense of self, but she wants to know more about herself and know more about what's going on inside her. And not physically, but just what's going on inside her mentally and emotionally and spiritually. So that's why she's going down deeper and deeper in the castle. And it can be a bit worrying as you start to explore your identity and just think, who am I? What do I do? What do I need? What do I believe? These are all quite big questions. And they can be explored in a really positive and healthy way. But sometimes it can just be a bit worrying and a bit anxiety-provoking when sometimes you think, I just don't know who I am anymore.
Yeah.
So maybe Ethel is just thinking about who she is and what she really wants to do and how she shows up. And so this dream is just about exploring herself. And the action from this dream, the message from this dream, is not to be worried about finding out more about yourself and putting yourself in situations where you can grow and develop in a really healthy way.
That's fascinating. I was going to wrap it up here, Ian, but we've got so many calls coming in. Could we possibly do one more after another record? I'm sorry, because I'm aware that it's your Friday night.
No, it's absolutely fine. I'm just sitting here in my slippers, so I'm very relaxed.
All right, Ian, I'll be back with you in just a couple of minutes, if that's okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
Ian Wallace is a dream analyst, and he's your expert tonight. Ian, one of the fascinating things that tonight's callers seem to have in common is that many of the dreams do seem either daunting or in some cases very frightening or indeed very negative. And yet the message seems to be that they mark a healing or getting over or a positive outlook.
That's absolutely right, Dean. And one of the things we have to remember about dreams is that they're not just streams of imagery. They're actually really powerful streams of emotion as well. And images are one of the main ways that we express our emotions. So when you have a really quite maybe disturbing or sinister dream, it's because it's very emotionally powerful for you. There's something significant happening in your waking life, and there's always a significant opportunity involved in that. So I always say there's no such thing as a bad dream, and by actually engaging with dreams that seem quite scary or perhaps nightmarish, then it's usually a sign that there's something really powerful and positive emerging for you in your waking life.
Okay, can I introduce you to Joy, who's on the line now, please, Ian?
Hi, Joy. How are you?
Hello.
Hello, Joy.
Hello.
Would you like to share your dream with Ian?
Yes. Actually, I'm in the early months of losing my husband.
I'm so sorry to hear that.
Okay. He died suddenly.
Right.
And the first dream I had was just this week, and my husband was in it. And we'd broken into a house. I felt comfortable in the house, as if we'd done it before. My husband was on the left side, and he was wearing like a beige trench coat, which he would never wear in real life. And he said, "There's the photocopier." And he pointed to this very glittery, bright, top-of-the-range photocopier. And we were just going to use it when the front door opened, and I said, "Oh, the people are here." And I ran like mad out of the house as fast as I could, and my husband was following me. He didn't speak any more in the dream after that, and I'm rushing up steps. I'm getting underneath fences and railings, and I got to the top, and I turned round, and I could see already, because there's no sense of time in dreams, is there really? It's a bit warped. They'd already got the police in, and there were people that I knew had got the police in. I knew the man and the woman, and the man has actually died as well, but the woman is still alive. And I said, "Oh, I'm giving myself up. I can't go on with this." And I put my hands up in the dream, and the detective took me back into the house, and a lady detective was on her knees on the phone, pleading on my behalf, apparently, it sounded like, and she said something to the effect of loving care, tender loving care. I heard those words very clearly. My husband was still at the left-hand side of me there, not saying a word. And I, by this time, was crying and very upset, and I had a hanky over my face to hide my face because I felt so ashamed. And the lady turned around and said, "It's all right. You've got off with it. You're free to go. Everything's all right. You're free to go." And then I woke up wondering what the heck was that about.
There's a lot going on there, isn't there, Ian?
Yeah, that's an absolutely wonderful dream, Joy. I'm very sorry to hear of your loss of your husband.
Thank you.
But in the dream, this is such a positive, healthy part of the grieving process.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things that's always very interesting in working with dreams like this, Joy, it shows that how you are moving on and developing.
Oh.
And even though you'll be grieving for your husband and missing him terribly, what's actually happening here is a process of you establishing your own identity. Oh. So as the dream starts off, so we were saying that when you dream of a house, it's always something about yourself. Houses have got insides and outsides, and so do we. And what a photocopier is, with in Glyn's dream earlier on about the photocopier.
I heard that.
Yeah, we said that a photocopier, it's an opportunity to use your talents to create original work, rather than feeling that you have to duplicate the efforts of other people. So what that means, Joy, is that rather than you feeling that you've got to walk in your husband's shadow, this is now an opportunity for you to move on and to be yourself. And your husband's still there. You're still embodying your husband's qualities. When you create a character in a dream, it shows that those are your characteristics emerging. So all the things you really loved about your husband, you still embody those characteristics. And when you try and run out of the house because people are coming back to it, you feel that you can't have that independent, bold, courageous identity, and you're trying to escape from it. So that's why you run away and you're over the railings, up the steps.
Well, I never.
And then when the police arrive, the police in a dream usually represent the fact that you've maybe got some feelings of guilt or self-denial. So you are maybe feeling a bit guilty that you're starting to feel a bit more independent now. And you decide to give up. You can't go on. You've maybe been feeling that you can't go on without your husband, and that's why you're giving yourself up to this detective in the dream. And because he's a detective, you're trying to examine what's going on and why you're thinking that is. And the words that you're hearing about you being tender and loving and caring, those are just profoundly true, Joy. That's actually who you are. you're a profoundly tender, loving and caring woman, and you're now becoming a bit more independent and realising that you have that independence. And when the detectives tell you that you're free to go, that's a sign that you're moving on from this grieving process, that you're giving yourself the permission, that you're free to go now. And
Do you know, I'm really sorry, I'm going to have to cut in because the news is due. So, Joy,
That's marvellous. That's absolutely spot on. I actually didn't wear a black skirt today. I wore one with some white in it.
Fantastic.
All right.
That's great to
Joy,
hear.
thank you so much for your call. It wasn't easy to do, but
Very comforting, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joy.
Ian, just very quickly, if people want to find out more, where's a good place to go online to check you out?
You can go to my website, ianwallacedreams.com, and you can follow me on Twitter @Ian Wallace.
Ian, thank you very much indeed.
It's been a pleasure, as always.